lot of the topics that I talk about are really serious, especially when our Thursday through Saturday conversations that are about personal development, relationships, and other stuff. So a little bit of humor in there is doesn't hurt. We just got to try to keep it a little bit clean because I know that we got some individuals that aren't quite 18 that slip in from time to time, which is another reason why I went to the 16 by 9 format because the 16 by 9 long format is not on the shorts reel and the kids are on the shorts reel. So it does negatively impact our ability to be adults because the kids are in the chat. So but you wanting to be a homeowner, there's a lot of information that I've had on this podcast over the past 2 years that could aid your ability to become a homeowner. There are things, for example, um, if you haven't had a bankruptcy in the last 2 years, you can qualify for an FHA loan as long as that's going to be your primary homestead. And the FHA loan will allow you to have a zero down payment where they will cover the cost of the down payment for the house for you. And all you have to do is just pay the monthly payments. Now, granted, that's going to make your monthly payments a lot higher because you're paying for 100% of the price of the house instead of putting down 15% of the price of the house. But if the FHA loan is going to cover the real estate agent, brokers, and all of the closing costs for the house, and all you have to do is start giving them the monthly payments 30 to 45 days after closing and move in, that's easier for you to get a house. And not too many people know that that happens. One of the things that disqualifies you from getting an FHA loan is a good credit score or a good FICO score. So we go over all of these things throughout the year on how to improve yourself because anybody who is renting an apartment and the rent keeps going up and it gets too high, or if they're maintaining the apartment in a very insufficient fashion where you have to deal with stuff that isn't adequately built, this is the stuff that you guys need to know so that you guys can make yourselves more successful. Um, the other thing that we have going for us also is when we're talking about investing, we talk about investing on a regular basis. And we talk about this investing and saving our money and not wasting our money on unnecessary stuff. And we talk about this because if you have more money to spend, you have more money to put away. And the more money that you put away, instead of putting it somewhere where it's not going to gain you much interest, you can put it somewhere where it can gain you a lot of revenue. And increasing the quantity of revenue that you gain gives you the ability to have the cash to put down on a house or add to the down payment alongside their zero down payment obligation, which allows you to put more money down on the house anyway and reduce the cost of the house. It allows you to put more money down on the car if you're trying to finance a car to reduce the purchase of a car. It allows you to put money away to buy a car cash up front so that you don't have to lose a bunch of money on interest rates to finance a car so that you can get you a better mode of transportation, not a luxury car, not an expensive car that's lavish and decked out that makes you look good, a car that's reliable and affordable to fix so that you can always have a reasonable mode of transportation to get you where you need to go. Um, we try to give you all of the information that you need to be successful. For individuals that's got everything that they need, but they've got kids and I tell you guys about your kids being an investment opportunity. I told you guys about donating to their public schools so that instead of paying for private schools, so that you get the tax deduction from going to the public schools and your kids get the better education. Now, with what Trump's doing, you can not only make your kids' allowance uh, something that they actually work for as employees of your household with your LLC or C corporation, you can also teach your children how to invest in their own future, where the money that they're working for from you or the money that they're working for from someone else, when you teach them how to diversify their incomes, can then build the children financial stability for themselves. Where at 8, 9, and 10 years old, they're investing in a stock option that by the time they're 20, they would have generated their own wealth from birth. These are the things that I tell you guys that you can do over the long term that can make you better in your life and make your children better and make your grandchildren better, which are things that not too many people know or think apply themselves to. And that's when we talk about the stuff that we talk about on the show because it directly impacts us right now today because we don't have a good old boys club, an apprenticeship, a hierarchy, and nobody tells us that there are things out there that can make us better than what we are. We have a lot of people in our society that tells us that we're fuck ups, we're worthless, not worth the gunpowder to blow us up and stuff to that effect. But we don't have anybody telling us, hey, there are ways that you can be better you. There are ways that you can no longer be disappointed in the life that you live. There are no ways that there are more ways that you can go about changing your decision making process where you can be satisfied with your future. And that's not what we talk about on a day to day basis. We're running out of ancestors that'll sit us down on the stoop, grab us by the ear, sit us down on the stoop, and tell us how to live life the way we need to live it so that we can be better off. Michael says, "What are you waiting for?" He said, I'm in grad school. The grad school don't change nothing. You can go buy a house with the student loan credit. The college students have a whole special line of credit that they can get, and you can go to any bank and show them that you're an active college student. And depending on how bad your credit score already is, they can give you college student lines of credit, which allows you to utilize those lines of credit to help you put that $500 to use, where you could still go and try to get yourself a house. One of the things that, as an undergrad, if I would have known as an undergrad to invest my money wisely, I probably would have bought a house with all the money I was getting from my student loans, so that the money I would have yet another house under my belt, but I would have a house from back in college that I bought when I was in college. Students don't get taught that. Michael says, sounds like you're starting your career in a hole. Yeah, yes. Most people start their career in the hole because they go to school thinking that they're going to get this piece of paper and this piece of paper is going to get them a job. They think that the job that they get from this piece of paper is going to pay them the standard of living that they desire. What they don't understand is that when they go to school, they're paying an institution that is a business to give them a piece of paper that verifies that they're not a dumbass. That's all that piece of paper does. It says that you're not stupid. The piece of paper does not validate, does not give you the on the job skills to validate the money that you spent on that piece of paper. You could literally buy that piece of paper offline and go to certain jobs, and they're still going to have to give you the same on the job training, and you're not going to have to spend $250,000 to get that piece of paper. Probably 250, $300 to get that same piece of paper. The fact is that the the business model is, we niche this requirement for this piece of paper. As a result, since nobody has the ability to get this piece of paper, we've now funneled everybody from public school, everybody from private school into this funnel of private college. And now private college can make millions and millions of dollars off of allowing our American people to not have good jobs. Now we're in a shit ton of debt. We have no way to pay for it. Think about how many people work in fast food that have 2 to 4 degrees, and they are a manager of an overnight fast food restaurant. Think about that for a second. So, regardless of what your degree is, you have to be able to pay attention to how to utilize the time that you're spending in college to benefit yourself. At least up until July of 2026 next year, you're able to take out more subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans. Um, the I can't remember the name of the higher tier loan for master students and PhD students, but up until July of 2026, all of those loans that are going to be terminated are still accessible. You should be taking out more loans than what you need, and at the low interest rate that is locked in right now, you can utilize those loans in order to invest in some stuff, buy yourself a house, put it into the stock market, and then defer payment until you graduate from college. By the time you graduate from college, the money that you didn't spend on a house, if you put it into the stock, by the time it is time to start making payments, you can take the dividends from your stock portfolio to pay off your student debt. And now that is one less bill that you've got to pay for. So even if you don't have a fantastic job when you get out of college, if your stock portfolio is paying for your monthly payments on your student debt, regardless of what that amount is, you don't have to pay for your college when you get out of college. Your stock option is doing that. Now you can start building up your stock option to cover the rest of your standard of living while you're working your 9 to 5, because you're not taking 30% of your income and giving it to the US government to pay off your education. People don't know that they can do that either. That's what we're here for. That's what we talk about. Michael says, yeah, because I made the mistake of going to college right out of high school. Ah, I made the mistake of going to college 10 years after I got out of high school. Doesn't change anything. I still got 3 degrees. I still got almost $100,000 worth of debt, but I got it permanently deferred. So while it sits on my credit report, I don't got to give them a fucking dime. But the difference is that that deferment option no longer exists. So if I never contact them to undo the deferment, I have a permanently deferred college education that is good standings on my credit report and is 14 years old, and I don't have to do anything about it. They're not going to garnish my wages. They're not going to you know seize any of my assets or anything like that because it is permanently deferred since I want to say as far back as I think 2012 or 2014, something like that, a long time ago. If I go back in time, I would have just gone to HVAC. It doesn't matter. You can't change the past, but what you can do is change what you do for the future, and that's what we're here for. We're here to make better decisions going forward so that we can learn from our past mistakes and improve our way of life going forward. That's what we want to do. And by improving our way of life going forward, we want to be able to work on first of all, finding the knowledge that we need to make better decisions, then utilizing that knowledge, do our research, utilize that knowledge, and then start making better decisions, which will aid us in our success going forward. Until we start doing that, we're leaving ourselves vulnerable to consistent failure, knowing that you're still in college, knowing that you don't have a leg to stand on, knowing that you're building up a lot of student debt, knowing that you have not tried finding a career in your major that will take you in fresh out of high school or fresh out of college, knowing that you haven't done any internships to work on a job that'll get you those years of experience, you know that you're about to fail because as soon as you graduate, you still need 5 years of on the job training before you can get that good paying job, which means that after you graduate, you have to do 5 years of internship or work for somebody that's not inside of your field of scope so that you can pay for your standard of living. And that's what the college education includes the cost of the class, books and equipment, but it also covers the standard of living, whether you're living on campus or you're living by yourself. And what a lot of students do is they live off campus and they take care of their household with the rest of the money that they're not spending on their education. But if you were financially capable of taking that extra money that you don't need on your education and put it somewhere else where it's making money for you until you get out of college, $100,000 worth of money sitting somewhere else, or by now $50,000 worth of money sitting somewhere else, making you money when you have to start making your payments, you should be able to give them that money. Michael says, question, why at 70 I having a problem finding a date? You ain't having no problem with finding a date. The rent is not too high. Credit cards at 28% is the real problem to most people today. Yeah, people can't keep credit cards at 28%. And really, if you can get them below 10%, that actually makes your credit score look a lot better. But below 30% is a good place to have it. Rent is always going up, and the problem is that the rent goes up faster than you get raises because on most jobs you get the raises within the first year that you're on the job, depending on your skill set and your performance, and then after that you start seeing a raise once every 5 years. Um, 2 to 5 years sometimes. And ultimately, if you don't ask for one, sometimes you won't ever get one. And the problem is that the rent, if you're renting from competitive businesses, they typically raise the rent every year. Some might not raise the rent if they don't do repairs on the property. But the more often you call them to renovate the property, the more likely that the next time that your lease needs to be renewed, they're going to offer you a renewal contract with a full recognition that the rent's going to go up if you sign that new lease. Now, if you don't sign the new lease, now you got to move. And then the problem is now you have to go through credit checks and background checks, hard hits on your credit score so that you can move to another location that's probably going to be in a lower financial community because the cost of inflation has raised the standard of rent around the country. And you have to move to a cheaper neighborhood because your neighborhood is too expensive. And these are real problems. And in order for you to offset that problem, you have to own your own place. Now, you can do better by buying a duplex, living in one side and renting out the other. You can buy a fourplex and rent out 3 units and keep one. You can buy a house with a studio apartment on it or something like that where you can rent out a part of your space. But the only way that you can start turning revenue off of the property that you have is that you have to buy enough property, buy enough established building to rent out a portion of it so that somebody else is paying the cost of you staying where you're staying, which puts more money back into your pocket. One thing you can't do with most apartments is sublet the apartment. So you cannot rent the apartment from your landlord and then rent it to somebody else. You can get a roommate, but y'all are co-applicants. Both of y'all are giving money to the landlord. So the landlord is making a profit, but you're paying less for your unit. But it doesn't solve the fact that you're not turning a profit. You're just paying just a little bit less. But the funny thing about it is that it requires the both of you to sustain that standard of living. So it's not like you're doing good because you couldn't pay for it by yourself. One thing about a mortgage, your monthly payments never change, especially when they're doing standard fixed rate mortgages. Whatever your mortgage payment is, if your mortgage payment is $1,000 a month, in 30 years, your mortgage payment is going to be $1,000 a month. But if your rent goes up $100 to $200 a month every year for 30 years, your $1,000 apartment 5 or 10 years from now might be closer to $2,000 to $3,000 a month for the same space with no additional maintenance. What did you end up going to school for? Microbiology, communication and health, and computer technology. And as you see, as I sit on this live podcast, I am not doing any of those. Real estate, I run other businesses. I'm a teacher, not utilizing what I went to college for. Microbiology leads you into a research lab. Computer technology allows you to get into a tech, but you can actually just go to trade school and get you a tech degree or tech certification. But you're still going to need the on the job training in order to know how to do the coding and the computer development, the software development. But it doesn't change the fact that you have some basic knowledge to get in the door, get your foot in the door, and get started. And then communication and health is a communication degree specifically designed for medicine, but a communication degree is a communication degree because whether you're talking about how to improve your health or you're talking about how to improve your finances, you're still talking. So being able to communicate is, I mean, it's a piece of paper that says he knows how to talk. But you guys can listen to this podcast and say, he knows how to talk for over 2 hours. They didn't teach me that in school. Talking too much was a skill set that I was born with, and now I'm utilizing it in this podcast. So you have to understand that the what people don't realize is that going to college misguided going to college is not always going to benefit you. It will lead you into a financial debt, but it's not going to give you a benefit in the background. But I'm not saying don't go to college. You need to go to college because you need to learn how to look up new things. You need to learn how to do extensive research. You need to network. You need to invest. And this is the stuff that you can benefit from in college because while you are a student, you have access to student loans that other people don't have access to. You have access to grants that other people don't have access to, and more money that they give you that exceeds the educational standard that you have to have. All of that can be utilized as a profit to invest in making more money, make money for you. But what we did not know when we were in college that all that extra money that we use to party and have a good time and pay for bills and take care of extra family members and pay for other people's problems is all the money that we could have been using to set up our later to make our later greater. So when we got out of college, we had something that we could fall back on, which is why Donald Trump is giving that Trump account to all of the newborns between 25 and 28. Because if you have money starting up when you're born, anybody who values you is investing in that or showing you how to invest in that yourself then you can build that up. And by the time that account matures, when you turn 18, 20 years old, you have a decent stack of money that you can utilize to help you move forward. And that's something that the rest of us didn't have going forward, was somebody who was investing in our now so that later we don't need because it's already there. Um, is that social skills are almost as important as the book knowledge at college. Social skills are more important than the book knowledge at college. If you notice that the rich, you are dumber than a box of rocks. You got some that are very knowledgeable, but you got some that just basically have common sense. They pay people to think for them. They pay people that are called trusted advisors that will tell them what they should and should not do. They have collateral damage teams that are designed to cover up and take out of the media what stupid mistakes that they've made. They have lawyers to cover them what stupid mistakes that they made that are against the law. But broke people, the average everyday American, doesn't have any of that. Social skills requires the wealthy to network with other wealthy individuals so that they can enhance their network and increase their ability to gain wealth. We need to improve our social skills so that we can entice an individual to buy our product or invest in our business so that we can turn a profit. But at no point do we put ourselves in a position where is that 63% of grad students get hired. Doing what? Because statistics have shown that that many people don't get hired in the field of their choice. Because while 63% of grad students get a job, not in the field that they got their degree in. Oh, okay, okay. Now you're talking because I was like, no, I did that research. 63% of people do not get hired in the field that they're looking for. They do not. So that means that the other 27% of people that come out of college and go directly into their field of study, that's a small percentage of people that are successful fresh out of college. And the rest of us got multiple degrees and we don't got a pot, neither a window. So I decided to make this podcast be the backbone of everybody's success and show you guys what you guys need to do to get yourselves to a level of success that you're satisfied with. Look at Flash. And now what we can do is we can start off by diving into a couple of these questions and comments for today. And we can learn some stuff. But remember that throughout the night, you guys on Twitch and Twitter and even YouTube, y'all can comment in the comment section. And as long as they're appropriate, you see them right here now because it used to be at the top. And you also see the little whatever going on over here off to the side. And make sure that you tap dance on those reaction buttons as we dive into. We got a couple of them that are pretty long in nature, but we don't have as many as we had last week. So we still got enough to get through it over the next hour and 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and take a look at uh, the first one that we've got.
How do I even start? At 26, never had a girlfriend or any kind of romantic relationship whatsoever, and I've been wanting to be in one since middle school. I don't think I'm ugly, but the last time someone was interested in me was in high school back in my home country in 2018. I've only been rejected by girls since middle school in 2015. I'm an outgoing and social person, and I've been doing self-improvement recently, like getting a haircut and going to the gym, getting a second job, and planning for my classes and my future career. I'm graduating next year. I'm scared to use dating apps because when I first used them in 2018, I got ghosted, except for the only girl I ever had a date with. And I used one in 2023 and got no matches. My self-esteem isn't good, so I don't want to compound that. All my close friends are girls, and I'm thinking about asking my friends to set me up. But I'm afraid they'll think I'm suspicious that I'm only befriending girls to get in their pants. One of my friends accused me of that 2 years ago.
Okay. Um, we A lot of questions came in at the same time. All right, so Michael was saying that it takes you about 20 years to pay off your student loans. It usually takes at least 20 years, sometimes longer than that, to pay on your student loans, especially if you're only paying the interest amount, the basic amount, and not paying actually towards the principal. You have to overpay because the minimum payment usually is 75% interest, 25% principal. So if you're not overpaying on your student loans every month, you're not able to do it. Uh, Slug asked me about withdrawing from what is this benzodiazepine for 2.5 months. So one of the things that I can tell you is uh, if you have been titrating down, taking less of it, if it's prescribed to you, then the best thing that I can do is tell you to take it less frequently until you don't take it at all. If you're not taking prescription medication and you're taking this for the sake of taking it, whatever your motivation for taking it, my observation is that don't take it. Um, I know that sounds easy and it's hard at the same time, but you have to understand the first step is not buying anymore. The second step is not hanging out with people who have it. And then getting rid of how whatever supply you have left in the house. It is going to be an uncomfortable detox, and the motivation to utilize it again to alleviate your stress is going to occur. And the lack of willpower to withhold from that particular enticement might encourage you to go back and do it again. But what I can tell you is that if you work on what's stressing you out and try to resolve that, then you're less likely to be motivated to fail with your withdrawing from the medication. Uh, and depending on how often you were taking it and what the dosage was, and hereditary addiction that is genetic, you might be able to overcome it easily, and then again, you might not. But my recommendation is not only to do it, not only to put forth effort into doing it, but also go and get you some help, go and join you some support groups, get you a sponsor. Whenever you feel like unnecessarily taking the stuff that you don't need to take, you can call somebody instead of opening that bottle. You can call somebody instead of buying that bottle so you don't have the bottle to open. Um, you can go to a detox facility and stay in one of those facilities that will house you until you're capable of functioning in life without having to gain access to that. But all of that requires your personal desire and motivation to improve, and then the proactive effort to maintain that. But it can be done. Michael said, "I got a wastebasket full of degrees. Do you want some?" ah, No, I think the three that I got is enough, buddy. If I need more, I can go and get some more. Rent goes up because of maintenance, labor, etc. Yep, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. Now, for this other gentleman that was asking about what do you do about getting into dating? We've covered that yesterday, day before yesterday, and a few times over the last 7 months. What I can tell you is that men are going to experience rejection throughout their life until they have reached a level of success that is satisfactory to the woman that approves. Um, you have to change the matrix of what you're trying to look for, though, because a lot of men are driven on the desire for a consistent sex partner and not so much a person that benefits their objectives. And you're also not presenting yourself as a stable individual by desperately needing a companion to replace the loneliness in your life. So if you're in a position where you have a partner that is not satisfied with your standard of living and you're putting more financial effort into convincing that person to stay, you're going to waste more time trying to make that person happy and wasting more resources on trying to make that person happy. And that will take away from your capabilities to invest in a future where you are stable enough and successful enough for a person to say, okay, I think that this is a good place to be. Michael says, If you're a long time renter, we don't increase your rent. We know your rent is always on time. So here's a turkey for your help. Happy Thanksgiving. Actually, they don't care about long time renters. A lot of the times when an apartment complex owner wants to make more money off of the property, they effectively notify everybody 90 days in advance, raise the rent regardless of the fact, and then they will just renovate the apartments when whoever decides to move out moves out and put new people in there. There are some of the most successful investors in real estate doing buy and holds on properties do not raise the rent on their tenants because that maximizes their profit margins, where they will only raise the rent after a tenant has effectively willfully moved out on their own, not because they couldn't afford to pay the rent anymore. And then whatever renovations that would occur um, would go towards the cost of the inflated rent costs, so that they're not losing profits. But those individuals are not being greedy about it, and they're capable of utilizing the extra cash flow that they have to leverage expanding on properties. So instead of charging more money to less people to make more money, they instead expand on the quantity of properties that they have so that they can expand the quantity of tenants that rent from them, so that they can expand the quantity of money that they make from having a larger quantity of people rent from them, which is probably a better business model. Because if you're one of the cheapest landlords in the market and all of your properties are top notch, then you're going to have 95 to 100% rental status in all of your buildings, which makes you more successful over the long term. You can show growth in your business. You can show financial stability across the board. You can aid in your ability to be financially successful, which will be backed by lenders because they know that they'll lend to you and they'll turn a profit off of lending to you, which allows you to expand a little bit more. I have two careers, nursing and CDL license. Can't get unemployment. Unemployment and disability are things that are hard to get these days, especially since they just got rid of almost a half million individuals in the workforce over the past 8 or 9 months now. And the fact that he just did away with some of the backed programs, um, you're looking at Social Security, disability is being negatively impacted. The Medicaid and Medicare is being negatively impacted. So though you're not going to be able to just apply these days and just get an automatic approval rate, if you would have ever gotten that approval rate to begin with, you're less likely to get that. So it's one of those things that you have to prepare for, and that's why I keep telling you guys to build for a retirement. You have to build for a time where you no longer need that platform, self-sustainable, where you can work for yourself and not have to depend on the government to pay for your standard of living. So to the gentleman who asked, "What do you do?" He's kind of concerned, bro. Just know what you want and get out there and go get it. The worst they can tell you is no, but the no's are going to traumatize you a lot. Communicating with people in person is probably going to be a lot better than communicating to people online, since the online platform is designed to only make money, not to make connections. um, Take your free time and be more proactive in areas where people are located at, and try to find somebody with the same niche hobbies and ideas that you do. Start from there. Michael says, now I make money from real estate and estate sales. Exactly. So he had nursing and CDLs, which CDLs is commercial truck driving, and he went from that to real estate and estate sales. So he's buying real estate property, and he's buying the property of people who have passed away. And between the two, he does not have to do much heavy lifting, if any, and it's a consistent income. So even at 70 years old, he doesn't need to depend on Social Security, disability, or unemployment, because he has his own money coming in. Let's move on to the next one.
My wife wants to disown her daughter, who's 19, for dating a woman. My wife Laura and I are both 40, and we have been together for 10 years, married for 7. My relationship with Laura has always been great. She had a lot of pain from her ex who emotionally abused her, but she was always the kindest person I knew. I fell for her pretty quickly and knew almost right away I wanted to marry her. Laura has a daughter, Riley, 19F, from her previous relationship. I didn't meet Riley until a year into our relationship, and she did not warm up to me right away. She has a complicated relationship with her dad, who has been in and out of her life and resented her mom dating at all. I tried to be understanding, didn't try to fill a father role in her life, and gave her space. Things were especially hard for a few years after they moved in with me about a year into our relationship. Riley acted out a lot. She broke anything I'd give her, was getting in trouble at school a lot, and constantly told us both that she hated us and wanted to live with her dad. Her dad would not take her and barely even paid any child support though. Riley still blamed Laura and I though, and this caused some issues between us, but I loved Laura a lot though, so I put up with Riley's outbursts for her, and we made things work. Eventually, when Riley was 14, her dad got remarried and basically cut her off completely, which devastated her. Laura and I did our best to support her. We got her into therapy and took a trip to cheer her up, and after a while Riley started to improve. Her grades went up and she stopped getting in trouble as much at school. I tried to be consistent. I went to her soccer games, helped her with homework, and over time we developed a better relationship. Things have been great since then, and the three of us have become a family. I wouldn't change a thing about our dynamic. The thing is, last week Riley came to us and confessed that she was bi and she wanted us to meet her girlfriend. I have no issue with her being bi, told her that we were proud of her and were sure that we would love her girlfriend. I started making plans to have a dinner with all of us so she could meet the family. My wife, though, was just quiet the whole time and staring at her daughter. My wife comes from a really religious household, so maybe I should have known, but she had always seemed fine with LGBTQ plus people. I guess she is one of those people who is fine with gay people existing as long as it's not one of her family. She just told Riley to get out. The room got quiet. Riley and I looked at each other, and I saw Riley was on the verge of tears. Her mom started yelling her. She called her some really awful things and told her that she didn't want to look at her. She said that unless she went to a religious conversion camp that Riley had to get out of the house, and she wasn't welcome here. At this point, I finally jumped in. I told Laura to stop, that we were not going to kick Riley out for being who she is, and my wife started going off on me now. She told me that I was betraying her, choosing a sinner. I don't want to write what she actually said over her, and that unless we got Riley fixed, she wasn't family anymore. I told Riley to go to her room, and that Laura and I had to talk. I tried to talk Laura down, but she wasn't hearing it. She is adamant that she wants her daughter out of the house. Not only that, but she wants to cut Riley off completely, take back the car we gave her, stop paying for her classes and therapy. She actually blames the therapist too, and me for wanting to get her into therapy in the first place. I tried to tell her that would leave her own daughter vulnerable, but she doesn't care. She actually hopes that when Riley hits rock bottom, she will come back, and then we can pay for her to go to a religious conversion camp. I'm strongly opposed to these kinds of camps, and I told Laura as much. We didn't get anywhere in our conversation and went to bed without resolving anything. I got some reading material for Laura that I thought could help, but she refuses to look at it. She isn't budging on this and wants to kick out her only daughter. I don't think I can support this. I'm not even sure if I can look at my wife the same way. She was always so loving, but seeing how hateful she can be to her own daughter disgusts me. How can I help Laura accept her daughter? And failing that, how do I help Riley? I'm worried about her. She has been extremely depressed and crying since last night. Edit. Thank you all for your comments. They made me realize what matters here. I don't think I care about the marriage anymore. I just want to help my stepdaughter. Can I legally force my wife to leave the house? It's a premarital asset in my name. Any suggestions on how to have a talk with Riley and what to say so she knows I will support her no matter what would be great? Does anyone have any ideas on what I could do to cheer her up? Should I be trying to force some kind of reconciliation between her and her mother, or would that just cause more damage right now? Literally anything you can think of that would make her feel better would be amazing. Also, just any parenting advice for a 19-year-old girl. I think I'm about to become a single father unless my wife does a complete 180, but I don't have a lot of hope there. Quick update. My wife went to go stay with her parents for now. She still isn't budging and thinks I'm betraying her because I'm siding with Riley. I don't know if our marriage can ever recover, But I made my choice, and I don't regret it. Had a talk with Riley to let her know that I will support her no matter what, and she is always welcome in my home. Like some said, she started blaming herself for the marriage issues, but I let her know I couldn't turn a blind eye to my wife's views on this regardless, and I'd rather know and get divorced than live in ignorance. We are having a movie marathon tonight and ordering some pizza to cheer her up. Her girlfriend is coming over dinner Sunday, and I'm looking forward to meeting her. Riley is having a rough time. There's been a lot of tears, but she let me know how much it means to her that I've always been there for her. I don't think she will want to see her mother for a while, if ever, which surprised me.
Okay, that one was tough. Anxiety meds. You're gonna need more than anxiety meds. So the way this works with the thing with Laura, you're not gonna be able to get Laura's views to be changed because that is how Laura was raised and that is Laura's perception in life. Um, because Riley is 19, Riley is an adult. While you're gonna treat her like that's your daughter, you should always keep your kids in the eyesight line of they're always going to be your kid kind of thing. Now, because of that, if you divorce Laura, Riley can still stay with you because she's 19. She can stay wherever the fuck she wants after the age of 18. Um, as far as Laura, Laura has a choice because when she demands to destroy Riley's life, to force Riley to convert, I'm going to tell you that is not the religious way to do things. Any God fearing Christian person that is supposed to be a he who shall not judge if he has not yet sinned kind of thing, that you're really supposed to not force it on somebody, to be honest with you. So one of the things that I have to observe here is that Laura's observation to be diehard to a religion that leads her to believe that destroying her daughter's life is the best way to convert her over to a devout religious person is the worst concept to ever try to fathom. You will not find any scripture where the Lord said, make him suffer so that he can then become loyal to me. You won't find that. You won't find that. Let him wallow in his own mistakes, maybe. You made this bed, now lie in it kind of metaphors. I gave you an opportunity to succeed and you didn't try kind of metaphors, but never did I ever cross the scripture. And somebody, if you know anything about religion or if you've read one of those books recently and you know a scripture, by all means, cite it and throw it into the comment section and show me where it says in the book that if you don't do as I say, I'm supposed to destroy you so that you can then worship the same person I worship. Because I don't recall that ever being a thing. Now, about logic and reason, we're going to switch over to logic and reason now. With logic and reason, um, I don't know if Laura works or not, but dude, this is your house that you've invested in. If she does work and she contributes into it, it's kind of community property. Y'all been married for a while. You can sell the house if you guys get a divorce, or you guys could have gotten separated of what you did apparently, and you keep the house because the house only goes up for sale if you guys get divorced. Now, Laura has demands. You're not going to meet those demands as the man of the house, as the owner of the house. You put your foot down and say, no, this isn't going to work in my house. Riley stays, I stay. You don't like it, you can go. Some men are passive, and some men are like, oh, that's okay. You can keep the house, you can keep the dog, you can keep the car. I'll take my stuff and I'll leave. No, I did nothing wrong. Riley did nothing wrong. We should not suffer starting over because you have negative views. If you don't like the way things are going in this house, I typically run my house primarily as a democracy, but I do make the final decisions. And likewise, if the majority of people in the house don't have a problem with this, and you're the only person here with a problem with it, then you can leave. You're not required to stay here, but I'm not going to allow you to force somebody to not stay here. That's the perception you need to have with that. Now, moving forward, your next observation is this: since she left and she's going to stay by her mother's house, that's it. You leave it there. You don't even put forth effort in trying to divorce the woman because that's going to cost you more problems than resolutions. Just leave it alone. You're not trying to reconcile. You're not trying to get them to see each other's points of view. None of that. Reason being is, as long as Laura's views are not open-minded views, her views will not change. And then every time she gets around her daughter, as the adult, the parent over the child, her views are going to be forced upon the child, which means that the child is not going to have a say. The child is not going to have an opinion, and there's not going to be a negotiation. It's going to be a dictatorship. And while it's a dictatorship, it's not a negotiation. And since it's not a negotiation, the meeting should never occur. So the child needs at least one responsible adult in her life, even at the age of 19. Support the situation like you've been doing. Bring the girlfriend over. You guys can have a movie marathon, have popcorn. Remind her that her mother does love her, even though her mother's not showing it the way you would think. She's trying to do what is best for her daughter based on her own personal views, even though everybody else in the family doesn't agree with those views. It is just not being presented the way that we would have hoped it to be presented. Remind her that eventually mom is going to change her behavior towards you, even if she doesn't change her behavior towards your girlfriend. You just got to give her time to approach you in an appropriate fashion. Till then, she's always got stepdad, and it can be like one on one, dad daughter days for the rest of the child's adulthood until mom decides to come around. If not, in 10 or 15 years, because this relationship might not last. This girlfriend might not be her girlfriend in the next 2 years. Relationships last less than a year and a half. So just because she's got a girlfriend right now doesn't mean that she's not going to have a husband in 5 years. It just means that right now, while she's got this girlfriend, you respect what she's got going on. Michael said, well, sell it and pick up two more complexes and need to fixing. Then rent hasn't been increased. Oh, he's catching up to us. So he had sold a painting from a gallery today, and then he got some properties that he's selling, pick up two more complexes and then fixing them up, and then that prevents from having the rent increased for years to come. Fantastic way to go about doing things. So yeah, don't dwell on negativity. Let that situation ride. Now let's go ahead and try the next one.
My parents are telling me an accounting degree is useless and all the jobs will be taken by AI. I'm starting university in 2 weeks and both my parents, divorced, are telling me that a degree in accounting is useless and all the jobs will end up being taken by AI. I don't believe this is true. I think it's either embrace AI as a tool or get swept away in the job market. They are telling me to go into either healthcare or trades. Do something with your hands. Any advice would be appreciated. How to respond to them when they tell me accounting is stupid, or even advice on how to ignore their opinions.
Ignoring their opinions is exactly that, ignoring their opinions. You conflict avoidant behavior is to agree with what they say while you're in the room with them so that there's no conflict, and then when you walk out of the room you do whatever you want. You don't have to agree with them. You can actually acknowledge that their views are their views and say, I understand that that's how you feel, and then walk out of the room. You could tell them, I get it, I heard what you said, and I completely understand exactly where you're coming from, and then walk out of the room. You are not agreeing with what they're saying, but you're not formulating a disagreement that leads to a long-standing debate. You're not standing on a specific position. You understand what their position is, and you're not willing to comment beyond that. Now, that's how you get past their forcing their opinion on you, because yet again, we have another situation where a parent is forcing their opinion on the child. Is accounting going to be useless going forward? No, because an accounting degree will help you with doing taxes. An accounting degree might help you with the stock market. An accounting degree can help you work in the finance department of any business that has a human resources scenario that handles payroll. So, will technology replace certain areas of technology, the fintech information that we utilize when we're investing in stocks and bonds and stuff, Bitcoin and everything like that. Yeah, technology is sweeping. Um, will technology replace humans in most things that requires uh manual labor? Yes. In most things that might require a high quantity of computation? Yes. But at your current age level, in the next 40 years, I don't see 100% of the workforce being dominated by AI. I also do not see 80% of the finance sector being dominated by AI. Do I believe that your AI degree could be better backed by technology degree, like a minor in technology or a dual degree with technology? Of course. But can you get a degree in accounting and then utilize the knowledge that you learned from college to run your own business, where your business might actually be providing service to a tech company? Yeah. So don't let your parents hold you back, because as we just finished discussing, uh, majority of people that get a degree don't get a job in what they're doing anyway. So even if you get a business degree or an accounting degree, that you're going to be working for somebody if you don't start up your own business. But that does not mean that your degree, the choice of degree, is going to benefit you or hurt you down the line outside of all student debt. Now, what they said about doing something with your hands, it's a good idea to get you a trade and do something with your hands until you consider the fact that eventually your hands stop working the way you want them to work. And then when you have years of experience with using your hands and your hands are no longer usable, you no longer have a source of income. So if you get a job that solely depends on your hands, then you're less likely to have long-term success, because once your hands are no longer feasible, so is that occupation. The same thing, like they tell us men to get manual labor jobs because nobody wants to do them. You can make a lot of money in them till you break your back, bust up a couple of your knees, mess up an ankle or two, break a forearm, or shatter an elbow, corporal tunnel in the wrist, stuff to that effect. When your physical body starts being damaged, where you no longer can perform in that field, that fantastic idea back when you were 8 is not feasible when you're 40. So getting, can I tell you to change your major? No, because what degree can you get out of college where, as we just discussed, 68% of students don't even get it, or 63% of students don't even get a job out of college that's in line with their degree. So odds are your accounting degree isn't going to amount to nothing regardless of what you do. A trade will get you a job, but a trade is something that is dependent upon your physical capabilities more often than not. And there isn't a degree that solely functions off of your mind. So it's not like you can get a brain degree and say, oh, I can do whatever I want with this degree. No. But whatever you learn in college outside of book smarts, you have to make sure it's applicable to real world um, engagements. One of the things I learned from college was in-depth research and extensive thesis papers, which led to the long-winded scripts that I write for the show and the extensive quantity of knowledge that I bring to the show based on the research that I do every single day. But did I cover biology yet? No. I actually had a student come to me about a biotech job that he just got into, and this is the first time that I touched the biology topic in forever. But then he was doing biotech, so he was more focused on the tech side. Biology back out the window. Like Michael said, one of the things you guys got to do is you got to build a cash stream now, multiple different cash streams now. Way to go! Because the more areas of consistent cash flow that you have coming to you now, the more likely you will have a massive nest egg or a massive quantity of cash flow later that will be your nest egg, so that you're not dependent on uh, your government to carry you the rest of the way. So think about that for a moment. Let's dive into the next one.
Question for men. Has anyone turned their dating life around? A question for men who never had any luck with women, but managed to change it and started being successful. How did you do it? By successful, I mean that you started receiving interest from many women.
Okay, that's a good question, but it's a bad observation. Now, dating for the sake of companionship, where you're trying to get somebody to like your app, your profile, and go out with you in person, or individuals that are gonna like reach out to you and start scheduling to take up your free time at your financial expense as a man. Um, you're renting other people's time, and that's not valuable to you because you're spending money and you're not benefiting from that at all. These aren't long-term companionships. I can't say that that's success in dating, but the difference between either getting ghosted or constantly, uh, oh, Michael does have a good point. Riley could move in with her girlfriend. Yeah, at 19, she should have been living with her girlfriend. Michael's like 30 minutes ago, so he's catching up. But the thing is, oh, she's an adult, so he's almost there. But yeah, the thing is that yeah, the way this is going right now, we are as men focused on the wrong things, and I say this on a regular basis. So your observation that you're not doing well because you're not getting responses, or your observation that you're not doing well because they're not uh following up with the in-person dates, or they're not following up with the second date. Um, you got to fix whatever it is that that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds a little bit confusing. Think about it like this: would you prefer to be spending a lot of money on different women that you would go out with every week or every day or several times a month, or would you prefer to have the one woman that you are consistently meeting on a regular basis when you guys have availability, where y'all negotiate the investment of time? That's what you need to pay attention to. Quantity, quantitatively, you can update your profile photos, you can update your bio, you can be more descriptive about your expectations in the other person, you can be more descriptive about how you view yourself, and then anybody who's willing to read that bio might reach out to you, and that will lead you to a decent length of relationship. And you also have those individuals that are only going to like your photo for the fact that your photo. Remember that online, more people, the algorithm is tuning you to more people who are going to have long-winded conversations for you to continue to pay for the app. Whereas if you're meeting more people in person, you're really going to be texting and emailing each other more often in person, on your cell phone or whatever, and then hanging out in person. So I would say the best way to increase your positive rapport is to start engaging people in person and less on social media. That'd be the first thing to do. But then you want to look for one that's going to be a long-term companionship, because do you want to have 1,000 first dates over the next 10 years, or do you want to have one long relationship for the last 10 years? That's what the one person that's always there for you for the past 10 years, or 1,000 different women that have made time for you eventually at your financial expense over the past 10 years, which doesn't necessarily mean that even 5% of those 1,000 plus women led to physical contact, just financial expense. Think about that.
My boyfriend is mad that I used a public bathroom. We are both 18 right now. I want to keep this brief and straightforward, as I am not in a good mood following the convention we just had. Basically, after a long day of work, I got home and we called. The first thing he asked me was if I put toilet paper down on public toilets. I told him I do sometimes, but other times I just let it be. And he went on a rant about how gross that is, and that if I was in a bathroom and touch their germs that he considers that to be cheating on him. He asked me to not go into public restrooms anymore and just hold it until I get home, and was in my eyes, implying that I was disgusting with the amount of times he felt the need to repeat it. I told him that I do what I want and that using a washroom isn't cheating on him, but he is upset and says that if their germs are on me, it is. I told him I didn't feel like talking right now and hung up the phone, and now I'm just lying here angrily after that stupid conversation. I don't know what to say or do now, and I'm wondering what you guys would do if you were in my situation.
Okay. Oh, he's finally getting in on Riley. He said, "There's no reason for the wife to go anywhere. There's no reason for the wife to stay." It's time for Riley to learn to fly. It in a way, it it's for Riley to have left on her own accord to go move in with a girlfriend and stuff to that effect. Then yeah, but what Laura wanted to do was to kick the child out and financially cut the child off, causing the child to flunk out of college or stop qualifying for college, so that the child would no longer have a financial future, so that the child could come crawling back begging for forgiveness, so that you could force the child into a convent where the child would then be subordinate and submissive to Laura's will, which isn't necessarily in Riley or Laura's best interest, and that is unacceptable. Now, for Riley to decide that at some point that she can go and live on her own, she can voluntarily go live on her own, but she should not be forced to choose to live on her own because she doesn't want to adhere to Laura's demands. And then the father or stepfather should not repress his views, which is supportive of Riley's behavior, because he doesn't want to rock the boat with Laura. He should be able to stand firm on his position that Laura can do whatever she wants. She's an adult. And if Laura doesn't like that position, now Laura's got a problem with the dad, and Laura can go somewhere else with that nonsense. And since Laura's leaving, Riley doesn't necessarily have to go anywhere, because while both women are welcome into the house, neither woman is going to force the other woman out, because that is his house, not her house. So I do kind of agree with you somewhat. Let Riley fly. Let Riley get out there and go make it do what it do, but not by strong arming her out. Now, as it pertains to this woman here that's talking about the germ thing, let's take a look at the fact that, um, as it stands, uh, it sounds like you have a germaphobe for a boyfriend. He's wording it incorrectly, and it is not necessarily intentional to hurt your feelings, but the germs do bother him a lot. However, I think it is very unfavorable to your hygiene to hold your bladder until you get home. Now, recognizing that there are times where you might have to use a public bathroom, and recognizing you might not always have the tools and resources that you need to separate yourself from the commode. You might not have the leg strength to hover, and you might end up coming in contact with bodily fluids from other individuals, because it's not like they leave cleaning supplies in public bathrooms. And when you're in an emergency situation, you're not really capable of cleaning the bathroom before you use the bathroom. I think that it is a good idea for you to offer or suggest to your boyfriend or husband that after you have been in public, that you immediately come home and take a shower and change your clothes before you interact with him, so that whatever germs you're forced to encounter are not going to be exposed to him. That is the best that you can do, because I can tell you that I don't like using public bathrooms, but if I am that far away from my house, I am forced to use a public bathroom. And while I am not going to be okay with, men's rooms are horrible, way worse than a women's bathroom could ever be. Let's be honest. And I understand where he's coming from with the unisex bathrooms. And the unisex bathrooms are actually cleaner than the men's rooms. But they're by far worse than the women's facilities. The fact is that you can't control where you got to go when you got to go. You could try to go before you leave the house, but if you're eating and drinking stuff while you're not at home, you're eventually going to have to use the bathroom. And it's not like you're going to stop working and drive all the way back to the house. Now, if in the event you had the opportunity to use the bathroom at home and you chose to wait, and now you're in the middle of commuting somewhere, and now you're forcing him to pull over so that you could go to the bathroom, and you could have done that before we started this trip, that I would be fussing about, because you could have been more responsible and did what you had to do before you got in the car so that we would not have to pull over a mile and a half up the street to get you to the bathroom. You could have done that before we started. But just the germaphobe thing, you can try to negotiate with them. Don't lie to them, be honest, but negotiate with them. And then after you've come to understand his position and he's come to understand your position, it is his responsibility to decide, is he going to deal with it, or is he going to be single? You yourself can go the extra mile and shower as soon as you get home so that he's not exposed to the germs. But between the time you left the house and the time you come back to the house and take the shower, it ain't got nothing to do with him. It impacts him when you come home from being out in society, and now you're interacting with him, especially intimately, and you have not yet showered from being out in society. That's when it impacts him. So all you can do is control what is in your power, and then not negatively impact your recognition for his ability to be obsessive. As Michael said, remember to like and subscribe. Also, I do believe the reaction buttons are over here, so you want to mash those reaction buttons as often as possible. Show support towards the show. Let's get the next one up
Date
here.
showed up and she is bigger than the photos show. Respectfully, how can I exit the date and save myself the time/money? Recently matched with a girl on Hinge and thought she was pretty. When she showed up though, her pictures were obviously old and she was borderline obese. Not trying to be mean here, but I knew right away I wasn't attracted to her and this was a waste of time. Without embarrassing her right away, what are ways I can exit the date and save myself the time?
There isn't a way that you can exit a date and save yourself the time without embarrassing her. If you guys know who each other are, you sent each other photos, you're meeting up in person. She is not the person that you fell for because you fell for a photo of hers and she didn't update her profile. And this is another reason why I tell you guys to update your profile photos. You want to try to update your profile photos every 5 months or so. But updating your profile, if you can't remember the last time, like if that's the original profile photos that you put up there and you've had this account for 3 or 4 years, it is time to change them. I know that back in the day, those were the best times of your life and those were the best photos or whatever, but you need to put forth the effort to take photos in the right now. Um, if you're blessed like I am and you look the same way you looked 10 years ago, you might could let those photos ride because, I mean, if nothing has changed about you and you look the same way you looked before, you can just ride with that picture. But if you look in the mirror and you look at your profile photo and they're not the same, you need to change that because that's called catfishing. So recognizing, I've experienced that before as well, where I was talking to a lady and she had photos, and then she sent me a WhatsApp video. We started video calling one another, and after we video called each other, she was significantly larger than what she was in the photo. I could have tolerated that, but at the same time, she was one in Canada, two, a live-in nurse for occupation, which means three, in order for her to keep employment, she's going to have to live with somebody else to make money because she's a live-in nurse. Um, that would then require her, four, to quit her job and live with me and become a financial liability. And five, I'm trying to build finances, not support an extra individual. So I ended up not rejecting her because of how she looked. I looked at the dynamic that I would be taking on a financial liability that would not be financially supportive of my agenda. And I objected to that outcome. Now, because you personally did not like the way she looked, your observation is clear. You can walk up and you can, hi, how you doing, and shake her hand and, confirm that she is who she is. You can be clear to her that you thought that she still resembled her photos, and because she doesn't, your interest in this engagement no longer exists. And there's no nice way to say that I'm not attracted to the way you look now, even though I'm attracted to the way you would have looked 10 years ago. But we also understand that if you pick up a 24-year-old when she's 34, she might be twice the size she was when you met her, because either she was small and got big, or she was big and got small. If it happens while you're in a relationship with her, you're fine with it because you've invested time and effort into the person. But if you're getting the end result of life changes where the profile photo doesn't match the current person, that's like wanting to buy a car based on the photo, going to the dealership to sign the contract, and that car looks like it's been crashed 8 times, like it was in a roller derby or something. You're going to feel like false advertising. You're going to feel like you were scammed. Can you go in there and talk to her without hurting her feelings? No. Can you save your time and money and walk out and never talk to her again and not spare her feelings? As soon as you look at her, just dip? Yes, you could. But she's going to know that you saw her knowing that she looked the way she looked, and you walked away from her because she doesn't resemble her photo. She knows this. That's why she's using that photo, because that photo gets likes. That photo builds traffic. But if you don't want to hurt her feelings, then the only thing you can do is waste your time, insist that you guys go Dutch, have her pay for herself, you pay for herself. And if her personality doesn't win you over, where her physical looks are not what you're wanting, and you're not willing to allow that to slide, you enjoy your dinner, you eat the food, and you don't follow up on a second date. But there isn't an option where you're going to save your time, save your resources, and not hurt her feelings at the same time. You're either going to spare her feelings and waste your time, or you're going to save your time and hurt her feelings. That's just the way it is. Let's move on to the next one. Maybe we got a couple more left.
Work isn't killing my dating life in the sense that I don't have time for it. Actually, work is killing my life because I'm somatic with workaholic tendencies that I can't seem to rationalize why I would pursue dating when I'm not yet where I want to be in my career, despite knowing that that's not everything. I'm 25 years old, and I have been in my career for almost 4 years. I make just shy of $60K per year, and while I know that money and career aren't what define me as a man, I still struggle to get myself up for dating because of financial insecurity and fear of not being enough. My greatest fear is being someone's boyfriend and not being able to give them the experiences they deserve. I don't want to be the kind of boyfriend that can't take his girlfriend on nice dates, travel, and see new things together, and be someone that makes her life better. It's not so much about the money itself, as it is what it stands for, a lack of limitation. I don't want someone to feel limited when they're with me, and as long as I'm not at that point, I don't truly feel like I'm ready to be someone's boyfriend. I'm not a materialistic person. It's just that I don't want to feel like a burden on someone else's life, because I'm not where I want to be yet. On the other hand, I know in my heart that what my mind tells me is wrong. Dating is about togetherness and companionship, not the value of the dates or vacations. It's about finding a kindred spirit, someone who really understands you, and I want to find that for myself and be that for someone else. I want to find real love and go into it wholeheartedly without being afraid. I guess what I want to ask is how I get over this mental hurdle and stop waiting for some arbitrary level of success defined by a salary. Part of me wants to keep chasing it because I feel like I'm close, but another part wants me to stop thinking about it and not let that stifle me and keep me from seeking and finding something real and worthwhile.
Okay, so first you have to ask yourself, what is your end goal? You're making 60,000 a year, which is good. That it's not enough for a family of four, but for you, for a single person, that's enough. If you found a woman that had a $50,000 a year income, y'all would be making $110,000. If she is living on a $50,000 a year income and you have a $60,000 a year income to add to her $50,000 a year income, then you would be able to provide her everything that you're talking about. Because if the two of you can survive on a $55,000 a year lifestyle, where the basic needs are met, then you still have uh, what, 45,000 more dollars? Well, no, 65,000 more dollars. She's making 50, and you take 5,000 and put on it, and y'all are at 55,000. Or even if y'all are living together, it's 60,000, which is a lot because 60,000 means that your rent is upward of $3,000 a month. You're still looking at about 50 to $55,000 of money that can be utilized to go on trips and vacations and get her the things that she wants and needs and other such stuff. If you're financially responsible, you have to understand that a man is on a woman's level and is worth her time and effort if he can do for her exactly what she can do for herself. So, again, if she can support herself at 50,000 a year and you can support her at 50,000 a year because you're making 60,000 a year, then now the things that she would have paid for, she don't got to pay for that no more. And you still got $10,000 left over. In addition to that, if you guys are going to be working together as a team, the extra money that she's not spending on the things that she would have been doing herself, y'all could be building a life together, buying houses, buying cars, and putting that extra $50,000 into investment opportunities where if you're adding 50 grand every year to your stock portfolio, that in 10 years, you're looking at being millionaires, where yacht parties and trips around the world and houses in different states and all of the houses in different countries and stuff to that effect is a thing to do where you find a woman that's grinding the way you're grinding, where y'all have financially affordable dates. Y'all have time managed efficiently, where y'all can do the things that y'all want to do, have fun together without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to have fun, build up the wealth, build up the retirement, build up if you're going to have a college fund for your kids, build up for the next generation. And then 10 years into your relationship, you're millionaires, which means that 20 years into your relationship, you're multi-millionaires. And if you're multi-millionaires and you have the type of stock portfolio that's providing you a couple $100,000 a year worth of dividends, y'all can both quit y'all job, still live a $70,000 lifestyle, which is $20,000 increase for her and a $10,000 increase for you, and still have extra money to travel the world and live life to the fullest. But don't limit yourself based on your subconscious desires to be a sugar daddy for a chick because that's really your concern. You want to give a girl whatever she wants, even if you're satisfying unrealistic desires. And that's the problem that you're having. You need to be able to give her what she needs and then realistically analyze the things that she wants and see if you're capable of providing that. But if you're in a position where the person that you're trying to date wants way too much wasteful spending, that's not the person for you. Because if you're making 60,000 a year and you're paying for 100% of the standard of living and she's making 50,000 a year and she might be contributing 10,000 a year towards that, but y'all are broke every year, that means you're in a relationship where the two of you are allowing $40,000 a year to be wasted on nothing, nothing beneficial at least. if you go from the 50 or 60 thousand dollar lifestyle that you have, and because y'all have $110,000 together, y'all start pushing $120,000 lifestyle, y'all are gonna have financial arguments. Y'all are gonna be struggling. You're still gonna be broke. You're just living in a better neighborhood while you're doing it. You might have newer cars, but your credit is shot. You're borrowing against a stone. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You can't get sick without being afraid of losing your job. You're picking up double overtime. She's picking up double overtime, which means y'all don't got time for one another. So while you have an extra financial person in the household with that type of dynamic, you don't ever get to enjoy the lifestyle that y'all are paying for, because she's spending all of her time at work and you're spending all your time at work. Y'all can talk about each other to y'all friends and family. Y'all can show pictures of the other person to your friends and family, but you don't get a chance to enjoy that lifestyle. So if you've got a $60,000 a year lifestyle, find you a $50,000 or 40,000 or even $30,000 a year woman and put y'all money together. If she's living a $30,000 a year lifestyle, you should find a way to trim some shit down where you're living $50,000 on your $60,000 lifestyle, because her $30,000 will go to absolutely nothing. You can save an extra 10,000, which means y'all have got $40,000 to make yourselves millionaires inside of 10 years. And if she's a $30,000 standard of living and you've got a $50,000 standard of living, her lifestyle has elevated. She should be satisfied with that. If she's not satisfied with that, you got the wrong person. Yeah, we talked about this just the other day about how dating platforms uh take financial status, social economic status, and utilize that as a catalyst to compartmentalize different dating groups. But ironically, even in real life, that sometimes has to happen. In order for you to make sure that you're not living above your means to impress the other person, you got to make sure that she's able to be satisfied with the income that you have. You also have to make sure that she's satisfied with your desire to invest. And you also have to make sure that if she wants to be an equal partner in a decision making situation, then she needs to equally put in the effort to invest, because you're not going to have somebody that's riding your coattails and not contributing to the success of the relationship and then dictating terms in the relationship. You can't be a passenger on the ship and tell the captain where to go. You have to contribute. Whether you bought the ship, whether you paid for the fuel, whether you're helping out with the responsibilities on the boat, whether you're defending the boat, whatever it is that you're doing, you've got to contribute to this boat ride. Otherwise, you do not dictate terms. You enjoy the ride and follow instructions. Even taking care of the house and taking care of the kids is contributions. It's non-monetary contributions, but it is contributions that warrant a decision-making authority. But it does not mean that you run anything. So you got to think about it like that. You have to put your mindset on aiding yourself and your partner with future success. So think about where your bottom line is, because you say that you kind of almost there to where you wanted to be at in life, and you almost managed to get the person. And if that's true, then what is your top number? Is it 75,000 a year, and you're almost there? You just need a $10,000 raise, or is it 100,000 a year, and you just got to make partner to do it? What is your top number? Because once you reach that top number, you got nothing stopping you from going out to date. But if you're on the way to that top number and you're looking at who's going to be there with you as you make it to that top number, you got to ask yourself, will dating this person stop me from making it to my top number? Will this person contribute towards my efforts to make it to that top number? Will I be able to make it to that top number faster because I have this person with me? And if any of the positive answers are yes, then this is the person that you want to have. If any of the positive answers are no, this isn't the positive person that you want to have. If any of the negative answers are yes, this isn't the positive person that you want to have, because you don't want to have somebody that's going to drag you down financially. And ladies, you can take this exact same advice and apply it to your own operation. whatever it is you're trying to do with your life. What's your final number? What's your outcome? Because if you don't find the right guy who's going to contribute to your outcome, you still got the wrong guy. If he ain't making the right decisions that's going to benefit the outcome of your operation, you got the wrong guy. So before you guys start getting emotionally involved in what is ultimately in West culture a financial transaction, you need to start analyzing the investment versus the opportunity and the return. What's the benefit? Because outside of having a consistent sex partner, you've got to be getting something out of the deal. Both of you, men and women alike, you both have to be getting something out of the deal outside of a consistent sex partner or a financial subsidy. If that's the only two reasons why y'all are together is because the money is reasonable and the consistency is good, then y'all got together for the wrong reasons. Y'all can make it work, but the reason why you're fighting is because y'all don't have the same interest in the same levels of success or the same desires to go on the same path to an end goal that you are both going to be satisfied with. Now, y'all can compromise and start making some changes and stay in the same relationship since you've already invested in it. But some of y'all are probably going to break up because y'all's differences of opinions, y'all's differences in expectations, and y'all's lack of desire to contribute to something that you're not supportive of will leave the relationship in ruin. But you don't want to take yourself out of the game before you've ever tried simply because you haven't powered yourself up enough. You don't want to keep training and miss the Super Bowl because you're still in the gym trying to work it out. You want to get out there and try to play the game. But while you're out there looking at which plays to call, you have to be able to observe which players you want on your team. Because when you call this play, the only way you're going to be successful is if the players on your team are going to perform this play to the best of their abilities. Any rebellions are not going to be satisfactory to the success of the mission. So it looks like that was a long-winded one, and that one was one of the last ones that we had for the day. So we did not have as many as we thought. However, it was a good run. Um, I want you guys to remember, ladies, first off, I always tell you that as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. And then, fellas, uh, I do this for you. We got 73% male followership from the male perspective. This is a male driven podcast. But while I do this to help you guys become higher value men, and I give you guys as much information across the board between business and finance Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays to personal development Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays, and then whatever question that you can ask me about here on Sundays, this is what I try to do to help you guys become higher value men. Because improving your finances in your business life improves your ability to have a better social life, and improving your decision making process in your social life improves your money spending decision making that impacts your business life. Because they both play off of one another, you have to change both. You can't just change one and think that everything is going to be okay. You have to change both. And because of this, by coming to this and that, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, you take the time to find an alternative to the track that you was already on, which allows you to deviate from potential catastrophic failure and start working towards more success. The goals that you need to work towards, you need to establish on your own. And then anything that you don't like about the way life is for you right now, you need to look for solutions on how to fix that. You only need to focus on the things that are in line with your control. Everything outside of your control, you need to navigate how you are going to deal with that. Everything that's inside of your control, you're going to make proactive effort to effectively change. Prioritize the things that can be changed quickly. Prioritize the things that don't require much effort, and then steadfast into the more complex things that are going to take a longer period of time. But you want to cover the bases for all of the concerns that you have, because if you've got complaints, if there's something that's going on in your life that you could think about now while you're listening to me that could piss you off before I get off this podcast, those are things that need to be changed. If there's something that's going to happen this week that you're going to dread and you have to deal with it every week, that's something that you can change. If there's something that you're upset about that happened last week, that's happened before this year, that's something that you can change. And that's what if you don't know how to change it, you're never going to be able to make that change. So if you don't want to change it, you do like the young lady did yesterday. Come to the show, talk to me about it. Let's find out what's going on. Do like Hubris did earlier today. Come to the show, talk to me about it. We can figure this out. And reason being is because a lot of the times you might not have a solution to your problem, but you can find a solution for everybody else's problem. If you start focusing on yourself and directly put your attention on the problem itself, not how you got there, but the fact that you're there and what needs to be changed about it, you might be able to brainstorm some other ways out. And if you can, I can help you do it. Ladies, this information is just for the men. You ladies can actually utilize this information to make yourselves higher value women as well. Everything that I tell you guys on this show is about improvement because we are in a society where we have not been given scenario. We have not been given the good old boys where the grandparents and great grandparents are positively motivating and inspiring us and providing us with wisdom and knowledge, teaching us things throughout our life so that we can do things better. We don't have our Mr. Miyagi in our life. But even Mr. Miyagi did things in his life that he regretted, that he changed, that he learned from his mistakes before he started teaching his apprentice how to live life. But we can all, in our current life, become our own Mr. Miyagi for the next generation and the generation after that. And here on This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, I am the Mr. Miyagi of podcasts. I am going to provide you with sage advice. I am going to be doing extensive in depth research on just about everything that can possibly be talked about. And then we're going to figure out ways to make life better for us around the world. Special shout out to Bangladesh and India for giving us a lot of support on the channel because even in your country, a lot of the things that we talk about social interaction applies all around the world, not just here in America. We have it a little bit more chaotic in the Western culture because we have this ideology of freedom where we now have a lack of accountability and a lack of responsibility with that freedom. And we forget that with great freedom comes great responsibility. And that hinders us from being successful. But as it titrates into highly strict countries with highly regulated cultures, you guys still have other areas where the same mistakes are being made, no matter what country you're in. So you could take this advice from me. You could take this information from me. Because even if you're in Asia, where the elderly talks down to the younger generation because the younger generation don't know no better, it doesn't change the fact that you can't acknowledge what they're saying without agreeing with them. It's not going to insult them to say, I understand exactly what you're saying, sir or ma'am, senpai, or whatever. You don't have to agree with nothing that they say, but it does alleviate your ability to be defensive and then try to argue your position to try to prove that you're right to a person who could care less if you're right, because the intent of them telling you what you heard was to hopefully get you to behave differently and make different decisions. While the elderly don't know how to tell the next generation how to do it better, we all have to recognize that there is never a generation that is going to know the best way to tell somebody that you're fucking your own life up. But somebody's got to say it. And the person who's hearing it is not going to like the way that sounds. But once they recognize that they're not satisfied with their life, they're going to be open ears as to how do they improve it. But some decisions you got to work through because you make certain decisions that have consequences, and you have to survive those consequences before you can move forward. And then beyond that, you have to stop making those bad decisions. Once you stop making those bad decisions, and once you make it through those bad consequences, you start moving forward in a positive light. And when you start moving forward in a positive life, you start seeing all the success that your ancestors laid down for you. And hopefully, as you keep coming back to the show here today and every other day out of the week, because we don't let the sun rise without going live, hopefully you will also recognize exactly the same thing, that keep coming back to this show. You will learn more things than you ever thought you would have learned in college that will help you be better than what you are now. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.
Thank you.